This is the ibuprofen episode. Today's episode brought to you by ibuprofen. You're going to need it before the end of this segment.
Faith, firearms, and freedom. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hi, folks. Welcome to Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I am your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 330. Thank you so much for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week again this week. For those of you who are new, welcome aboard. I hope this might not be the best week for you to listen for the first time, because this week is a Reformation Gun Club exclusive. So the majority of the content that you're going to hear today is going to be available only for Reformation Gun Club members. But there are a few things that I do want to discuss before we get to the exclusive content. And if you're wondering, if you're new and you're wondering what all this exclusivity stuff is all about, well, Armed Lutheran Radio is listener-funded, and that means that we don't have any advertising, we don't have any sponsors. We rely on the support of the men and women who are members of the Reformation Gun Club. They support us financially through their contributions, both monthly and annually. And this week, I would like to thank our members: Scott from Granville, Ohio, Michael from Janesville, Minnesota, David from Kennesaw, Georgia, who has joined us at our recent, I think our last 2 or 3 online hangouts, George from Hammond, Louisiana, Bryan from Riverton, Wyoming, one of our oldest members, William from Duncanville, Texas, and by oldest members, I didn't mean he's old, I mean he's been with us, one of the longest running members of the Reformation Gun Club. William from Duncanville, Texas, Luke from Seymour, Indiana, and we have 2 new members to welcome aboard this week, Steve from Vernon, Texas, and Austin from Dysart, Iowa. Welcome aboard to both of you, and thank you all, and to all of the members of the Reformation Gun Club, thank you for your support. For those of you who are interested in finding out what this Armed Lutheran Radio membership thing is all about, check out the Gun Club at armedlutheran.us/gun club. You can find out all of the membership tiers. They start as low as $15.17 per year. That's $15.17. A little Lutheran joke for an inside joke for us Lutherans. That happens to be the year of the official start of the Protestant Reformation, if you will. Anyway, now through Reformation Day on October 31st, if you would like to join us, you can save 10% off your annual membership with promo code Luther. So go to armedlutheran.us/gun club, look at all the membership tiers and the benefits, and come join us, and join us for our next online hangout. We would love to meet you and to hang out with you. So check that out. Couple of announcements really quick before we get to the member only content. Of course, the new book, Duty to Defend, Volume 2, is rapidly approaching. I still have 2 articles I'm waiting for. But other than that, we're pretty close. We've got if you've visited the website, you can see the cover of the new book. You can check out the book as well and pre-order it, because it's going to be coming out in December. Go to armedlutheran.us/DUTY. If you own the first edition, and you're wondering, well, why, if I just bought because I think the first version is still available on Amazon, I believe it is. If you have not purchased, I would recommend you holding off. I can't believe I'm asking you not to buy my book, but if you would like to help support the show and you would like a sneak peek at what's coming go ahead and grab the first edition. But I would recommend, if you haven't purchased it yet, wait for the second edition. And if you do have the first edition, you're not going to be disappointed by what is coming. It is actually twice as much content as the original release. It has nearly 400 pages. I think the first book was 192 or 196 pages. Volume 2 is almost twice as much. It's almost 400 pages at this point, and I still have 2 articles that I'm waiting for, as I mentioned. So definitely go check that out. armedlutheran.us/duty and pre-order your copy today. Now, there were at the end of every show, we always ask our listeners to visit our feedback page and leave us some comments or leave us some feedback on what we're doing. And we don't get a whole lot of feedback, which no news is good news, I guess. But I did get some feedback this week, and I wanted to respond to. And because I don't believe the feedback came from a gun club member, I want to do this during the public segment of the show really quick before we get over to the exclusive stuff. The comment that came from, I'm not going to mention a name because I don't want anybody trolling this person, because this is a wonderful example, I think, of a person who is trying to respectfully express their disagreement with something. So often today, I'm trying to remember who, I think it was Ben Shapiro said, I think it was Ben Shapiro, sometime last week, he said, whenever, or no, it wasn't Ben Shapiro, it was Matt Walsh, close but no cigar. Matt Walsh was talking about looking for affirmation on the internet. And, if there's a choice between building up and scorn, praise and scorn on the internet is always going to give you scorn first. And I was really, I was a little dismayed at the disagreement that was presented, but it was presented in a very reasonable and respectful way, and I really, really do appreciate it. This was from a pastor, a Lutheran pastor, and he was objecting to the use of the images of Martin Luther and the image of C.F.W. Walther on some of our promotional material, both of whom are depicted holding firearms. And they suggested that this was inappropriate and that we should prayerfully consider removing or changing those images. And I wanted to respond to this because I think this is a valid point. But I want to understand, for those who are new to the show or new to those who have no idea, maybe have stumbled across the show or the website only in recent weeks. I want to kind of respond to the criticism and explain the use of those images. The use of those images is not to suggest that either of those individuals would condone the misuse of firearms. First of all, let's address the C.F.W. Walther thing. C.F.W. Walther was, I think, the first president of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. He wrote extensively on church polity and various subjects. He's not exactly the most, as Hans Feeney would point out, he is not exactly the most attractive individual on the face of the earth. He apparently didn't brush his hair very much, was bald, and anyway, I'm just going to leave it there. He's an amusing looking character, a very, very thoughtful, very well read and well written individual. whose works are worth your consideration without question, but not the but an amusing looking character, and that's part of why he was chosen to be a part of some of the artwork that we use. Now, the other thing you'll notice is that the imagery that we came up with using a sort of a stylized, cartoonish version of CFW Walther is he is holding a small handgun. And for those of you who are fans of the James Bond movies, you might recognize the pose and the firearm. I asked an artist to take a picture of CFW Walther and transpose his head on the iconic, the body of James Bond in that iconic pose with the, think of the early Sean Connery movies, with the Walther PP holding it, or Walther PPK holding it, pointed skyward. If you see that image of CFW Walther, look at some of those early promotional pictures of Sean Connery's James Bond, and that's the parallel. That's what I was going for. On top of that, the fact that he is holding a Walther PPK is part of the motif. The man's last name was Walther. So the T-shirt, generally speaking, there's a T-shirt on the website that has this cartoonish version of CFW Walther in the James Bond pose in the three-piece suit holding the Walther PPK. And that is exactly what the T-shirt says. Walther PPK. It's a joke. That's it. So I'm not trying to make any suggestion that that CFW Walther would condone the misuse of firearms. I thought this was an amusing juxtaposition of the names, and I just thought it was fun. So there's the explanation for that one. The image of Martin Luther holding the revolver and pointing it at you, for anyone who does not know, and for our commenter whose comment I sincerely appreciate, especially the means or the way that he conveyed his disagreement, I really do appreciate. But the Armed Lutheran blog and Armed Lutheran radio has been around now for nearly 12 years. And that imagery I've been using that imagery. In fact, the very first logo for the Armed Lutheran blog was the portrait of Martin Luther, on which this cartoony version of Martin Luther is based. And I just photoshopped in a revolver. That's it. Now, I guess I could have had it pointing up in the air or something. That might have been a better choice. But I didn't, and it's kind of stuck. And it's been the image that for the Armed Lutheran blog and the Armed Lutheran radio podcast now since 2012, I guess it was. So I have no intention of changing it. And it's not intended to suggest that Martin Luther condones the wanton misuse of firearms. I am a Lutheran. I am also armed, thus Armed Lutheran. And the image sort of conveys that with Martin Luther holding a revolver. So that's where that comes from. I hope that it clears that up, and I hope that explains it. No disrespect intended. I do really appreciate the way that your comments were presented, and I encourage anyone who has any questions or any comments about anything that we say or do on the show to visit our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback, and Let us know what you think and share your thoughts so we can respond to you in a future episode. So thank you for your comment, and thank you all, folks, for listening. If you would like to hear, as I said earlier, this is a Reformation Gun Club exclusive. We're talking about the 10 Commandments and some recent news stories. So if you would like to hear more about that, come and join the club at armedlutheran.us/gun club. Use promo code Luther now through Reformation Day, October 31st, and save 10% off your annual membership. All right? For those of you who are not Reformation Gun Club members yet, we'll talk to you next week. God bless. For those of you who are, back in a moment.
For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.